Welcome back, Panther fans. I'm here with, or sorry, I am David Brown, and I'm here with Ryan Graham,
Y'all?
Tim Thurber,
Hello.
the illustrious Ben Moore.
What's up, guys?
Say hello. And this is State of Atlanta.
Right. Welcome, Ben.
Third time is a charm, Ben Moore. We've been trying to get you on for 3 weeks, and you're just too busy. Too much going on in the Panther world for you to
Yeah.
slum it with us guys, huh?
Hot commodity right there.
It wasn't even that, man. As some of you guys know, so my oldest is going through the recruiting process right now, going through the college decision process. As someone who covers recruiting for a living, when it's your own kid, it's terrifying. So we've had travel all around the Southeast and lots and lots of productive conversations, and got to go hang out with one of I would think this group and some of the pod fans' favorite positions on the football team. So Seth Patrick Holman is up at Western Kentucky. He's actually the director of creative services. So big old fancy name. Basically everything that comes out in terms of like marketing, all the social media stuff, Seth is in charge of. Well, Western Kentucky is one of the schools that my daughter is engaged with and having conversations with as well. So we went up and got to spend some time with the Hilltoppers, and Seth gave us a A+ tour up there. So it's a lot of fun. The greatest mascot in the history, outside of Pounce, in the history of college sports, Big Red.
Good
I asked him what it
there.
was. He said it wasn't a he or a she. It's an it. It is the spirit of Western Kentucky. So I learned something. And
well, I would say
there.
I've met a lot of people from Western Kentucky, and I would call most of them it's. So that probably
I thought it was
works
the monster from the old Bugs Bunny cartoons. You know, you remember those? That monster? There's like a big red monster. I think it's called Big Red. I'm pretty sure.
It is. It is Big Red. Yeah, my youngest daughter compared it. Said basically it's the Red Grimace.
Yeah. Well, that's great. So, I mean, if I've learned anything about Division I athletics, but especially from you, is you say you're traveling around, but you're on private jets, getting like crystal and stuff, and everything.
Really?
This is like your daughter's getting just adorned with the most awesome gifts and swag and everything wherever she goes. Right? Is that's how it works at all levels of Division I sports, right?
No matter the sport. Yeah, this is the illustrious unofficial visit where parents pay their own way and pay for hotels and travel, etc. But I'll let you guys know if we get some official visits and all the swag.
Shoot, Western Kentucky's drivable, so ain't no flight there. I've done it a few times.
It is just about an hour north of Nashville. So, yep, no doubt.
Yeah, it's in a great spot, man. It's a college town right in between Nashville and Louisville, which are two of the best, drinking towns in the country.
No doubt.
So yeah, I can't punch it there. All right. Well, I'm glad you brought up the recruiting process, because that's why we wanted to get you here. It has been like I'm signed up for all these different notifications, text and Twitter and crap, and then go to Panther Talk to find out what the latest Georgia State news is, and it's been blowing up over the past 3 or 4 weeks with all these different commits and recruits. Like, I'm going to hit play on Ben Moore, and you tell me what's going on right now.
I think the biggest thing from a macro point of view is the new coaches are killing it on the recruiting path. That's what we're seeing. We're seeing at key spots in key areas, and they're absolutely hammering Georgia from the northern part of the state up to Rome, all the way to the south of the state, going and grabbing kids. They are reaching out, like always, going and reaching out to other states, going down into Florida, going into Alabama to be strategic with guys. But it's been a historic run for this football program. And basically, it's not even July 1st yet, and you have 25 plus 26 commits in the boat. And now, as I open up the page right now as we're talking, a lot of these guys are beginning to get their rankings as well. And not shocking at all, this class is surging at the top of the Sun Belt, and definitely doing big things. And I'm looking at the bottom of the list now. We're still quite a bit that have not even been rated. So this is definitely a super strong class. With every single class, you have to hold on to them, right? You got to bring these guys in, guys that have already decommitted and gone bigger and badder, as we've seen. One early commit popped and committed to Cincinnati. There's going to be battles lost with some of these guys, but as we have begged for a long time, is spend your time, energy, effort on the state of Georgia and Metro Atlanta kids, and as much as you possibly can, sell the idea of basically coming here and making a difference. And Dell McGee and his staff are certainly doing that so far.
Yeah, so that you made it one of the first things you said in the first 30 minutes there was about Coach Dell McGee never really having a problem and his crew recruiting. So I mean, from the stats and the numbers, it seemed like since McGee has been here, we've recruited top-rated guys. Why do we have 4 wins over the past 2 years?
Yeah, it's a valid
Ooh.
question, and I wish I had an answer, honestly, and I'm sure Dell would want an answer as well. Is it the coaching not working? Is it the players not working? Is it a combination of both? I think a big emphasis on the 2026 class and even moving into 2027. And I'll pull back just for a second. High school recruiting is very, very different than the transfer portal recruiting, especially in this new era. Guys, in a lot of ways, transfer portal wise, are coming in with agents looking for specific things and specific numbers, looking at to basically, make decisions based on that. High school kids still get excited about jerseys and official visits and things like that, playing time, putting on for their cities and things like that. So I think that's a big part of it. Again, we still need to wait and see what the new, the coaching additions. I mean, we've seen it with the last 2 off seasons consecutively. There's been massive overhaul on the offensive and defensive staff. And from a recruiting point of view, last cycle, they took a lot of risks in the 2025 cycle with character guys. And Dell even has said it publicly. They said, hey, look, they took risks on P4 guys who came in a little bit more entitled and had a certain attitude of things. And we saw that before the game even the season kicked off, with Tyler Scott basically grabbing a chain and throwing it into the stands and essentially getting suspended for the season. That set the tone in a major way for the entire season. Obviously, we did not know that at the time, but we do now looking back. It's completely flipped. He's looked at captains. He's went and gone into the D2 ranks. And I've talked to folks close to the program who have done the research specifically, and the boom rate and the hit rate is so much higher on guys that move up at the G5 level rather than move down. Impact guys, all Sunbelt guys, all Sunbelt second team guys have either been lateral moves, gone from G5 to G5, or moved up. So again, the staff has taken a lot of risks to go and look for those guys with chips on their shoulder, not necessarily coming down from the P4 and be like, hey, I'm big bad. I'm the former 4-star, 5-star, whatever. I'm going to come down here and dominate, because that just didn't happen last year, as we well saw. So all those guys are out, and this is going to be a completely different roster and a new roster makeup coming down. And I believe, what you probably still have some higher ranked pieces. I know you added the 4-star safety, formerly of Ohio State, here at the last minute, but other than that, you don't have a whole lot of highly ranked guys, and that's what Dell McGee and his staff are looking for, is trying to push those guys with that chip on their shoulder to basically launch themselves. And it's a great sales pitch, honestly. Come down here, ball out, get an opportunity to go get paid somewhere else. He's leaned into that big time because it's worked.
So yeah, I want to hear more about this 4-star kid from Ohio State that came down here. What do you know about him? What should fans be looking for seeing this guy this season?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's injuries, doesn't have a whole lot of playing time. Obviously being recruited as a scholarship athlete at Ohio State is a big deal. It's one of those scenarios to me where he's been the highly ranked recruited guy. So it's for him to potentially fall in line with some returning guys, and we're talking specifically about Keenan Nelson Jr. Sorry, name just escaped me for a second, but guy that basically just didn't play a whole lot of games at Ohio State. So having that opportunity to come potentially ball out, last opportunity here, I think he's a guy too. Obviously comes from one of the top programs in the country, wouldn't get an opportunity to play, which many guys don't at Ohio State, to come in and have an opportunity to lead and look, be able to kind of give some feedback, give some tips, and get on the field and give himself an opportunity in his final year of eligibility, basically.
It seemed like, Ben, like McGee for a while, either he was hitting the booze a little too heavy and New Atlanta just kept posting on and on and on, or his posts were just duplicating. And you said there's not a whole lot of stars out there. We got a 4-star safety, but is there anyone else that you see out of our recruits that kind of is worth watching? I mean, it's great to have a bunch of people coming up from lower teams, but is there anyone that kind of stands a little bit higher than the rest?
Yeah, I mean, I still think you grab running back from Clemson. That's always going to pop. You got Jalen Poe's a guy that I like a lot. Northern Illinois running back. Again, the one thing that we've continued to say for 2 or 3 years is the running back room is going to continue to be stacked. Right, that's what Dell cut his teeth and was a running backs coach. I think it's going to be interesting to me is the offensive line is going to be completely remade. I'm projecting probably 5 seniors on the offensive line, and almost none of them were here last year. So you have guys coming in, from Michigan, Connor Jones, for example, basically, who's going to be one of the tackle spots, coming in from Michigan. Again, another winning program, won a national championship a couple years ago. So I think you're going to have experience at some positions. The one thing is I asked about the offensive line coming out of spring, and they just said they're just mean. Like they look tough. They look like Son of Anarchy guys that go out and just rough somebody up. And I said, that's the kind of offensive line
they don't look like Son of Anarchy's guys. I bet they don't look like him at all.
Go look at Gage Stanlin, who transferred in from Iowa State. Yeah, he fits the profile 100%.
Well, if you're
no, I mean they're big,
Ohio,
they're mean, they're angry. I'm very interested to see how this translates. Obviously, coming in, but yeah, I mean I think there's a lot of opportunity. I'm excited to see the wide receiver room. Right, we obviously saw so much focus going to Ted Hurst at the X wide receiver. You go grab Isaiah Stone from LSU, who's going to slide right in that slot position, who absolutely can fly. Another guy that just wasn't given a ton of opportunities just because LSU has first round, second round wide receivers. So you're going to have a guy who's been in, successful program, knows how to catch the football, can kind of get out and run around. And I'm also, it's a position that we saw some success last year with Grant Hollier coming as a freshman. I think that you're going to see the way this offense kind of evolves to not only spotlight him, moving into two tight end sets as well. Heard a lot about Matthew Burron, who came in big blocking tight end. I think you're going to see some of that. And who doesn't love like a 6'7" punter as well? So Christian coming in, who's just awesome, man. I was trying to see.
Sounds like he might be able to play quarterback.
Hopefully, we never see it.
I think John Kremens may be able to use him at power forward. We'll see.
I hope we never ever talk about how good our punters are. I hope that we
have some good punters, man, in the history.
We have. That's a testament to how many times they had to punt the ball. So
lots and lots of practice.
You talk about the Ted Hurst taking off and heading. Thank God not to the Saints, but seriously, like quite possibly the second worst team that he could go to at least in the division. But how's our man Cam Brown looking? Are we going to see? Is he going to be starting quarterback? And how much better is he going to progress? Because I think Ryan, Tim, I can speak for all of us. We are Team Cam Brown. No relation, no sponsorship. Team Cam Brown.
I mean, to me, I don't think a conversation about 4 wins over the last 2 seasons can be had without talking about Cam Brown not starting and however many games last year ahead of behind TJ Finley, who lost the position. Any armchair quarterback coach and most coaches would have seen it immediately. Like holy crap! Like after 4 games of it, just Cam Brown's your guy, dude. It's clear.
Did he have a deal? Do we know? Like, was there some kind of promise to playing time, or like?
I mean, there wasn't, but I mean, I know TJ Finley was getting a lot of money. I mean, he was getting a lot of NIL money to play.
He was top, wasn't he? Was he?
Yeah.
I mean, hell, I don't know where I heard this. Probably you, but wasn't it TJ Finley and then Ted Hurst and the NIL?
Yeah, they were
payouts?
1-2, just a pity. Yeah, depending on how you want to look at it. But I think
it's all right. to throw out that money at somebody and to get him in and to take a flyer on somebody like TJ Finley, who's clearly a very talented athlete, but like, when it doesn't work out, you play the best available. And if you didn't pay the next up, who cares? Who cares? You got a deal then.
Yeah, it was tough to watch, and I think again a massive mistake to continue to kind of throw it. The metrics and the analytics and basically points per play or the efficiency that Cam was playing with at such a high level when he came in. I mean, the offense moved, the team scored, and when TJ just didn't, and I think that's having. And I know there was a lot of conversation. All right, we just gut the whole offensive staff again. I think a big part of keeping the offensive staff back was basically keeping Cam in the same offense. One that he not only can take a step. And look, historically, we've seen it, right? We've seen guys in the same offense from year 1 to year 2 make that huge step forward. We saw that in Dan Ellington, Nick Arbuckle, Connor Manning, all these quarterbacks throughout the years. I think Cam has a great opportunity to do that. And I think, him finding his way to as a leader, knowing this is his last ride, right? Like this is his senior season, opportunity to basically, really cement a legacy for him. He doesn't want to be the 4-win quarterback, right? Like he doesn't want to be the guy that's, with one of the worst programs in college football. And from what I've heard on the recruiting trail this offseason, he was involved in a lot of these conversations with these offensive playmakers. Look, come play with me. I will make sure this offense goes. I will make sure to feed the ball, make sure to move the ball down the field, and we're going to score some points. And, that's, I mean, you guys talked about it a little earlier, like, the guys that were brought in are not going to turn too many heads. I mean, I've already seen some of the reporting out there where it's like, hey, the numbers, coming back are not very high. Well, obviously this is G5 football. You're going to have tremendous turnover at key spots. So the guys that are good are going to go elsewhere. Domain Wilson, for example, is at Cincinnati now. Other guys basically, are going to get grabbed and taken to up or down, or guys that just don't fit. Guys that didn't play, were highly touted and just didn't work here. So I'm very interested to see again offensive line, the continuous replacement for Ted Hurst. I think there are a lot of options. You're not going to have one guy, in my opinion, that's dominant, but that's okay, right? Be able to, they went and got some really, really big receivers. Intrigued by Rashawn Dorsey, big 6'5", 210-pound guy. They went and got Owen Dupree from West Georgia, who's another 6'4" white guy. Looks like Brian Finneran running out there. Shout out to our guy Finn. And again, super productive at the Division II level, can catch the ball and big target. So that's the one thing that we have kind of seen, in the Sun Belt is bigger, more physical wide receivers have really done well because you're not going to have big physical corners at this level for the most part. You're just going to get picked off and go to bigger programs. So there's opportunities there, and we know Cam can sling it.
So Ryan made a good point about everything about we all saw how. Sorry, Ryan made a horrible point that I'm going to make better right now. I can't give him credit for anything. No,
Yeah.
but so it seemed like everyone knew that Cam Brown was the answer last season. And when he came in, we didn't really, win any more games, but we looked so much better in all of those games. It just took too long for him to get there. Like in this day and age with the transfer portal, what does it say about the character of Cam for sticking around on a team that didn't really show trust in him throughout the season? Versus this coaching staff that found a way to keep him here. I'm a huge Cam Brown fan. I'm so excited he's back, but it's so surprising this day and age to see a quarterback like him to stick around for another year after this year that he saw here with the way everything was treated.
I think the conversations were had in November, honestly. Where he basically was given the keys, where he was the guy, and he knew that and said, look, we're going to build this now with the direction aiming toward 2026, knowing that, and, basically putting in a position to go. I know Dell's talked about specifically, trying to keep guys healthy and kind of looking through that. I think now with being full disclosure, the staff fully understanding that this is their job year, that basically this is it. They know they're being evaluated. and they have to win now. That's the goal. That basically that there's tremendous internal pressure to move this program along. You can't go out and be 1-5 after 6 games. I think, and Dell and everybody else knows that. But I do think Cam got involved on campus in a major way as well. Was involved in campus life, and I think kind of from that point forward, it was, to me, mishandled in the way Dell kind of described it. That basically he was kind of away. It almost made it seem like he was doing something he wasn't supposed to do, which wasn't the case at all. He was going through the recruiting process and pledging a fraternity, which was very strange. And again, I think this is part of Dell's evolution as a head coach as well, being able to talk about things in a way that fans will understand it or media understand it, where you're not breaking it down, you're not breaking the kid down. But obviously, he had enough trust in the staff. He had enough, trust in the offensive, game plan to say, "Look, this can go out and feature me and come back." And again, you're keeping a dude that completed 65% of his passes last year when he did play. So give him the opportunity to do it again, and he should have a big time opportunity to increase that and continue to be a big threat.
There's
I
always
mean, let's be. Go ahead.
Tim, I was going to say, there's always those asterisks on those stats, like when he completed or when he was given an opportunity to play. Like,
Right.
all right, Tim,
I was
sorry,
just
go
say
ahead.
it's. I mean, the whole like not playing him got pretty much comical at one point. Like, what is going? Like, we're all just sitting there in the stands. Like, he has to have some deal where he has to have a number of snaps, or like, are we blind? Do they see something that we don't? Like,
I think they got to the point where the offensive staff, there was significant disagreement. And listen, the players in the locker room, I've talked to players in the past about this as well. Was when they see
what do they
a
think?
guy going, like they keep seeing the coaches go back to it. They're like, "What are we doing here? Like, this isn't working." We see that, they know it. So let's stop banging our heads against the wall here, and hoping for a different outcome when we know this guy can move the football. And now, I mean, again, he's QB1. There's no debate. He's the guy coming in there, and I'm fascinated coming out of fall as well, which will be what will the backup race look like? You went down to the high school ranks here locally, a guy that has a lot of film that looks like Mr. Stetson Bennett from a few years ago. That was kind of a late
You're
ad.
speaking their language right now.
And I mean,
Good
and I'm
points,
also
good
interested to
points.
see the jump in TJ Stanley, right? TJ Stanley was a state championship winning quarterback with Toombs, just got his running back committed, within the last week as well, to the 2027 class. But I'm interested to see his progression. And then he went out and, the staff went and went to the FCS ranks to grab, Aiden Pereira to come in and who's played significantly. So just in case Cam has something happen, gets a hangnail, has to come out. Aiden's a pretty versatile guy. I mean, he's a guy that can run and pass as well, and has played a lot. So, they've kind of put themselves in a position where there is some depth there. If something bad happens, but yeah, it's Cam Brown's show, and the season will be on his shoulders for sure.
We've nailed down the Camcast. That's this program, right?
Camcast.
This is what it is. The Camcast.
I love it.
We need to protect the Camcast with an offensive line, and well, we might not score every time. So, what does the defense look like? Because those were two areas last year that I felt hindered us from even winning some of the closer games that we had during the season. Maybe even lost us. I mean, the defense, period, just lost us games flat out. What are you seeing there?
Yeah, lots of change there, certainly in all three levels. Having the whole idea of a co-defensive coordinator, you will have one primary, play caller there, John Hanlon, but and Cam Cook. I'm very interested to see kind of how that build together. The reports from spring were very, very strong. This staff is a lot more organized, had a detailed plan of what they want to do. And I think more importantly, kind of one of the underrated things of only having one transfer portal window, this roster was basically set in January. So these guys have been going through spring. They went through summer workouts, knowing what they're going to do. Yes, there's been 2 or 3 additions to the roster, as we talked about a little early with the kid from Ohio State coming in. But other than that, what you're going to have basically in your 2D. And I'm impressed with at least what I'm hearing so far from the secondary as well as the defensive line, because this team and this program has forever struggle to stop the run, and teams just could line it up and hammer you there. I think this team will be significantly better there. I still have some questions that need to be answered at linebacker, but again, I think they've done a really good job of rebuilding that. But I mean, you got guys that have played a ton of football at corner, at safety, and we saw that. I mean, a couple of years ago, who would have thought Jaron Gilmore would be a guy that basically started games in the ACC last year.
Yeah.
He was a guy with little to no fanfare. Hey, he comes in from Tennessee Tech. We don't know a ton about him. Yeah, he did something at FCS. He was a starter here and then starts in the ACC a year later. So, the staff's looking to do similar stuff like that, finding those guys who, has success at Monmouth or had success, elsewhere where they can say, hey, look, you can come in here and play right away. And I think there's a lot of opportunity for it. Again, camp's been super strong. They want fast linebackers all over the place to run and hit linebackers and big physical defensive backs. So they're very interested to see how that looks once we come out in camp.
A little off topic here, but you mentioned Monmouth College. Am I the only person that feels like Monmouth sounds like the name of like a character from a Hanna-Barbera cartoon from when we were all kids? Like there was like on the USA Express, there'd be some like barbarians or human, what they call themselves, that cartoon show. There'd be a Monmouth. I can just see like some kind of like gorilla with blonde hair or something called the Monmouth or whatever. I don't know. All right, cool. So that was just me. Apparently. All right. So
Blame it on the alcohol. It's fine.
hey, if I blamed everything on the alcohol, I would never blame anything on myself. So
Just blame it on the 80s.
It's a good decade. All right. So you made a comment about this roster was kind of set in January, basically February, whatever it was. A lot of these commits have been coming through that we wanted to talk to you about. Was like there's been a slew of 2027 commits, which is so early. It seems to be getting as many as we are, and you got to beg the question of how many of these guys are sticking around for next year. Like what does a commit mean like in June of 2026 when it comes to starting a season in 2027?
Yeah, I think there's a couple dynamics here at play, and you've seen it all over as well. A lot more of these these colleges are pushing the high school kids to commit earlier so they can set their board earlier. As we know that there's scouting departments are scouting, transfers and potential transfers. With only one window now, you have to approach it and say, all right, how many are we going to take from the high school ranks? How many are we going to basically leave open for transfers? And most schools know that number basically jumping into a cycle. And this staff, again, has just crushed it in the high school side of things this summer and, had all their official visits basically done, basically in May and in June, and landed a super high percentage of that, which again goes back to what Dell McGee and his staff are selling once guys get on campus. He's done historically a tremendous job once he gets folks on campus to buy in and believe in that. To kind of answer the question, yeah,
where is he?
Listen,
where is he taking them on campus? Like Magic City?
hey man,
or like,
you got to talk to the campus host. I'll give you their info off the air, and you guys can figure that out. But no, I mean, I think it's a big part too. These high school coaches and these kids also know, like, I don't want to lose a spot either, right? So they are knowing, hey, look, I'm going to come in here. If I don't jump on board now, I may not have a spot. And what I always tell people, we're just about a month away from what I call basically the get real date of August 1, where all these kids maybe have 15, 18, 20 offers. Well, August 1 is when the official offers go out to high school seniors. When that happens and you only have 6 offers, then how many offers do you have? You have 6 offers. That's who you have. Or you have 3 offers, you have 1 offer. Even by August, a lot of these schools have already set their board and they'll move on. I talked to one of the guys who I went to high school with. His son's a highly recruited tight end prospect. And he's talked specifically about that, where some of these schools are basically giving them deadlines of, hey, I have to know by this date or we're going to move on. We like you. We hope you like us, but if you don't like us, we're moving on. And I think that's a big part of the recruiting process now, because kids just don't want to be left behind. Yeah. But as I mentioned a little earlier, a lot of these 2027 guys, they had other options other than Georgia State. They just believe in what Dell and the staff are selling right now. And that's a major part of it as well, with, signing day being in December. And listen, things could go very well. This team could be, a bowl team, and this high school class could absolutely be one of the top in program history and come in and want to say, hey, we want to make this the foundational building point as we're going to look at, in history. Or it goes horribly bad, and these 2027, it was a great run in the summer, and they disappear, and we don't see many of them come back. So, that obviously is the worst case scenario in that scenario. But no, I mean, again, it goes back to Dell's recruiting acumen within the high school ranks. He's done a tremendous job since he's been here. We've seen freshman impact guys, guys that have come in and played right away. And there's a lot of guys at certain positions that just haven't played, or guys that do play and then they get sucked up to a P4 school, which I expect several on this roster who probably will be freshmen or redshirt freshmen will have opportunities to play elsewhere after this season.
Well, you use the magic word. You said bowl team. Do you think that we have a bowl team roster right now? Should fans be prepared for a 6-6 season or better, or should we be looking towards another just disaster of a season?
I think the truth lies somewhere in between, honestly.
So not bowl team.
Yeah, listen,
it's only 6 wins, guys.
No, I think more than anything else, you're going to see win totals that are probably in the 2.5 range, 2.5, 3 when they're released. And a lot of people are going to do exactly what Tim just did and give you that face. But
gross.
There's so many unknowns about this team, right? So you don't have the daunting schedule that you had last year. You don't have 2 Power 4 teams on the road in the first 4 weeks of the season. That helps, right? You have winnable games at home. I can't tell you what the Sun Belt is going to be top to bottom, because there's been as much transition as there's been here in Atlanta. There's been everywhere else. You go and look up and down the all, first team and second team, all Sun Belt guys. None of those guys are back. So, you're going to try to project in some kind of ways where, most of the traditional metrics of saying, all right, I have my head coach back, I have my offense coordinator back, I have my quarterback back. Start there, right? Well, you go up and down the list, and, well, Georgia State's one of those teams, so you should be better offensively, right? But you don't have a ton of those amongst the Sun Belt. So you're going to have to basically project on what you think and what get with all player acquisition. But again, as we saw last year, how is that going to fit? How is chemistry going to look up and down these rosters? New coaches. You got new coaches at James Madison, top of the league. You got new coaches at the bottom of the league. So it's going to be very interesting to see top to bottom. But yeah, look, I don't want to necessarily guess and say, hey, yeah, of course, this team's going to be a bowl team. I think there is a path to that. It's got to be a super strong non-conference. It just has to be. You got to be 2-2 at worst, or 3-1 at minimum.
So 3-1. I'm assuming your one's got to be University of Orlando, as I hear they're being called now. But so you're thinking that means FCS game, that means NIU from the MAC, and that means you're calling for a win at Kennesaw State. You think I've been saying since last season that we're losing that game. You think that we have a shot at winning at Kennesaw?
Absolutely. I believe it's a coin flip game. Watching many of the Kennesaw games last year, they were one of the more fortunate teams in the country.
Yeah, but they had Conference USA.
Right. You have a Liberty program that was way down, and believe me, I know folks that are in the area where I live that are Liberty people, and they were not happy at all with what was going on there with Jamie Chadwell, because he again is highly compensated, and they looked like crap last year. Their expectation is to run the league in every year in every sport, so they came way down. And listen, credit to Kennesaw, man. They won 10 games. They had the opportunities there. Again, I thought Jacksonville State was down in a lot of areas last year as well. They were a team that I thought should have been better. So again, credit to Kennesaw. They took advantage of the situation, in a really, really weak, Conference USA. But I think the big thing for them is, how do you handle that success, right? They lost coaches, they lost players. key guys are gone. Now what, right? That's always the challenge from a group of 5 team, because Jerry Mack was assumed to go elsewhere. He interviewed for other jobs where he stayed, where a lot of his assistants left. So now what? You got to rebuild that. You got to get more buy-in. You got to have these kids who did stay. All right, well, we can just walk out here and win 10 games again. Well, got to be careful with that, right? This is a massive in-state game, and I think it's massive importance for both programs, and I think both programs know it. We saw that obviously in the turnout at Center Park Stadium when Kennesaw came in. Was that 2018, basically, in one of the worst seasons Georgia State has had as an FBS program, and it still basically was a coin flip game.
Was
there. I don't foresee it being any worse.
Was that game not 29? Wasn't Kennesaw State right after Tennessee?
That was Furman.
No. Okay, exactly. Because we won our first game, and then we had Kennesaw, and we were down 21.
Kennesaw State was the opener that year. That was Dan Ellington in the end zone.
His
first season in Panther land.
I'm going to cut this out because that sounds to the
great DeAndre Champagne.
I thought we. All right.
Such a good run.
I'm not gonna dwell on it at all. All right, yeah. So the thing about playing Kennesaw State was that they were FCS at the time. We were already FBS, and I'm guessing the fact that they played at Center Park first is the reason why we're playing up there next to balance it out. But I don't. It's
a home and home. So yeah, Georgia State will go to Kennesaw next year.
I feel like we always lose on the home and home direction. I don't ever want to be the first team going away. I want to be the home team the first time.
Because got to get you involved in scheduling, Dave. That's the biggest thing.
And if we do the home first, then you can cancel the contract like Tech did to us and various other people. And it's like, hey, you get to be the big guy and be like, you know what, we're gonna cancel so we can go somewhere else.
Yeah. And also, I think that we all skipped over the fact that Ben said, I need to be in charge of scheduling. We can all agree that would be the best thing ever, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. 100%. I am not one to say many terribly nice things to you or about you, but here we are. Yes, 100%. You're the scheduling guy, and you'll do it for free. You'll volunteer for it.
Well, so Ryan, I want to take your compliment, but I feel like you're saying that just so I won't talk about scheduling. And I'll have you know, if I'm in charge of scheduling, I will talk even more about scheduling because of how beautiful it is, how metric it is, how great it is, balanced and even, and works to our favor, even when being even.
And I'll say the same thing I always say: just win, baby.
I wish folks understood and loved things as much as Dave loves scheduling. I really do. Yeah. He has an intense passion for it, and he has since the very beginning, which I just don't know why.
Find yourself a woman who loves you as much as David loves scheduling.
Especially non-conference scheduling.
Right. I love scheduling almost as much as you love not loving taxes.
God, I don't. Nothing. There's no love about taxes.
All right, Ben. Another question. Where is Georgia State in all this NIL payment? And I don't even like calling it NIL payment anymore. It's just paying players. It's just using weird terminology. Are we so part of this whole getting this awesome rosters of kids and everything? It's all money nowadays. How are we doing it? Is it more than we've done before? What's the whole state of paying players now at Georgia State?
Yeah, I mean, so it is different now, right? You have revenue sharing, so a lot of that stuff comes in from TV contracts, right? Sunbelt pays each Sunbelt school, basically right at $2 million a year. It'll be a little bit more than that. We know with Texas State exiting, Louisiana Tech coming in, and folks, getting paid there. But yeah, I mean, so you're going to have the revenue producing sports are going to receive their revenue share. Basically, that's been litigated, and going in from there. There still is NIL payments. You don't have collectives pretty much anymore, but yes, schools can still pay players. There is payment of players still happening at Georgia State. It is happening from all reports. And Mike Holmes, shout out to him. He's very active on the boards and will tell folks, a lot of these numbers that you hear, which is what I've said from the very beginning, are inflated. There is a market specifically at the G5 level where where guys are. some guys will go sign for, 25,000, 10,000, whatever it is more elsewhere. That's on them. Sure, go for it. So there are conversations being had all the time about that. Historically, the payments have been made monthly to these kids, and they're paid basically through the season pretty much. August through through December, I think, or end of November, pretty much. But yeah, I mean, for the last few years, Georgia State football, for example, has been kind of right in the middle of the league. They haven't been at the top. They haven't been at the bottom. Other sports, not so much. Basketball has been better, as we saw last year. It didn't result in anything of substance. A couple of years earlier than that, there was nothing. I also know baseball basically has very, very little, if it any, and you see it. You see it in the results. You see teams, like Troy going to the College World Series. Well, they have legitimate baseball NIL. Coastal Carolina, Southern Miss, for example. So, yeah, I mean, I think, again, there's still a lot of work to be done there. But at the same point, you got to win. You got to rally some success. And I think, again, winning would put a lot more energy on that, folks coming out. I will say the reach in to the business community from the coaching staffs has been positive. There are still folks that believe, in Dell McGee, for example, they can go out and sell it. Now, again, his time is getting short on that sales pitch, right?
Well, he's not
You
very
gotta
tall
win.
himself, so
Right. Yeah. Nice. Nice. But I think the overarching part is yeah, there's some, there's always room for growth. I mean, you go up to Athens and ask Kirby Smart if he needs more money, and he's going to say, yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
every single coach says we need more money.
You
we
always
need
need
more
more
money.
money.
We need more money.
Yeah.
We know
I
that.
need more money.
We all
If
need
you-
more money.
If you want
Yeah.
to join our Patreon, go to stateofatlanta.patreon.com and make sure to click that.
Set that up. Just try to
donate money.
volley that right to Dave there. But no, I mean,
think that'll
look,
get you there.
it's the nature
I
of it.
think I messed that entire thing up. Tim's been doing it for 3 or 4 years now. I don't even know how to get there anymore.
It'd be cool
Got
if you
the,
could get
got the
there by
link
then.
favorited over there. He's just like, all right, plug that.
Hey, we
But-
should do that. What a
No, but look, I mean, there's room to grow, but ultimately, like, the staff is doing what they can with what they have, right? Guys that come here and are looking for big paydays, you're probably not going to get it. But
Small
if the sales
payday,
pitch, like I
maybe.
talked a little bit earlier, of hey, I can come in here and ball out for 12 games and get an opportunity to go get paid elsewhere, because that has happened for 3 consecutive cycles, you can do it.
I think there should be a podcast dedicated to just transfer eligible kids. This should be called Balls Out. You said it just now, Ben, and like, all right, who balls out this week? This is who schools need to go get next week or next season, whatever. Balls Out podcast. I'm so that's for free. You guys can just have it.
Got it.
So-
We'll make you the executive producer of that podcast. Let's go.
Yeah, just in name only. That's fine. That's fine. Sure, we've had you for quite a bit of time. It's more than we normally get you, Ben. But so before you go, unless Ryan or Tim have any more football questions.
No football.
All right. Yeah.
What about
Yeah.
basketball?
He's
No.
ready
So
for boost,
I
baby.
want to get into the women's track and field team.
Best season in a long time, man. Come on now. That was awesome. They were like, listen, I'm getting feedback from, I'm not getting the text from high school coaches anymore where, hey, my high school team could beat Georgia State's track and field team. That's encouraging.
Do you get what? How
100%.
petty does a? Oh my God! All right.
No,
Because
you'd be
it's
surprised.
a time, Dave, it's a time sport. So you can go over there and look at it and say, all right, my kids can run a 400 or 200 faster than what you guys are running it. It's easily measurable.
I will challenge every high school track athlete to a beer mile. I guarantee you. There is a penalty, though. If you puke at any point, you have to add a quarter mile to your run and
Okay.
another beer. So
Dave's going to be the fastest in the country, baby. We're going to have a national champ right here. Let's go.
all right, no, I want to talk about basketball. So we have the Atlanta namesake here administering the program. What's it looking like this year? That's
Has
all I got.
reality set in?
What's it looking like?
Yeah, it's and we still don't have an official roster, right? We've pieced that together. I'm hoping to get that sooner rather than later. There may be an addition or two coming later. Yeah, the staff has been interesting. The way they were kind of brought in, a lot of junior college experience, and we saw that with some junior college guys added. I think I'm pulling up my little handy dandy scholarship distribution here on Panther Talk. Projecting right now 6 seniors on this roster, which I like. Right, you want some experience with a new
Leadership.
coach. And it's where I'm still kind of looking, and it was one of those things too where it caught some wind on the boards a little bit. Where they were like, "Where's all the big guys? We need 7-footers. We need 3 Christian beams." If you go back and look at the style that worked,
Are Christian beams like T crosses? Like, is that
I was gonna say 3 Christians is a gym bean, but
okay?
oh, no, you're good. So basically trying to get big guys. But if you looked at Vandy,
I did see that.
if you
yeah.
looked at James Madison,
Smaller.
the teams that Byington had, you had versatile 6'7", 6'8", 6'9" guys that could move and block shots and run. And that's what he wants to build here. I'm fascinated by how this roster is going to look in this style, because he wants to go. He wants up-tempo, fast-paced basketball. And again, some of the best teams, Byington had the best season basically ever at Georgia Southern down there, where he had legit athletes running up and down the court, averaging 80+. They smoked us on our home court when that weird COVID game happened, basically, that shut the world down. Where that team was legitimate, and they thought they were going to the NCAA tournament.
No.
That game didn't happen. That was an exhibition.
It almost didn't. But even look at his team. Look at his team at James Madison, right? Byington's team at James Madison had solid shooters, very good guards, and bigs that could run. And on paper, that's what they have built now. And I love Kremens' interview, with Dave Cohen very early in the process, and said, what's the biggest stat that kind of jumps out that may be a little bit of a fallacy? And he's talking about, being points per game. This staff looks at efficiency first and foremost. I cannot say that about the previous staff.
No.
Where they're not looking at offensive efficiency and field goal percentage efficiency. They want efficient basketball players. And I think you're seeing that. And some of the sneaky good additions, I loved Jacob Meyer. He was a problem. We saw him, with Coastal Carolina a couple of years ago, and then obviously moved up and went and, balled out in the AAC with UAB. I think he's going to be your starter at your point guard spot, and he's a scoring point guard, which will be fun. You've got guys again with size up and down the roster. The wings on this roster should be fun as well. I'm very interested to see kind of who plays and what his rotation is, and that's kind of the hard thing for us to see as well. Jonas got into a mindset of, I'm only going to play 6 guys, and I'm only going to bring 1 or 2 guys off the bench. I think this roster, once it's completed, could be a team that goes 8, 9, 10 deep, and I think that again, if the style that Kremens is talking about wanting to emulate, you have to play that much, because you're going to want to mash down the gas the entire time.
So question for you, Ben. Are we going to have a style that does the basics, like boxing out or getting a rebound?
Inbounding the basketball. Yeah.
Learning how to inbound the basketball, or know that you have 10 seconds to cross half court, or how to pass the ball.
Arms up, y'all. Arms up.
Bounce pass, chest pass. Like, I'm not kidding. Like, watching
Pretty
that
confident
was
that will be
either
the case,
horrible.
Yes.
Yeah.
But again, the fundamental pieces, and I think this is the tough part, right? You have X's and O's coaches, you have culture coaches, you have different styles. The vibe that I'm getting from Kremens and his staff in kind of conversations that I've had with folks that have gone out and seen workouts and practices, this team is going to be a lot more detail oriented, like very, very detail oriented, jumping in and understanding where they're supposed to be, what they're supposed to be doing, where people are supposed to be on the court. And again, just really, really, really accelerating. And I think that to me, that's the hardest part of the last couple of years, is the style of basketball was just so brutal to watch, because it gets so ugly in the half court. You just felt, there was the 4 or 5.5 minute droughts of nothing and no action. When certain lineups were on the court, nobody was moving. Everyone's struggling to get a basket, basically 4 or 5 on the shot clock. I think that's the big thing, is there's going to be a lot more ball movement. There's going to be a lot more read and react type basketball. And really, again, get the score back up in the 80s. I mean, that's what we've seen and we've enjoyed.
Sure.
And that's what brings people back to games, honestly, is an exciting play, as we know.
You're bringing back horror, Ben, because I do remember trying to watch our half-court offense, and it felt like it was hot potato. No one wanted the ball that long, and no one wanted to get it under 8 seconds. No one.
And there was no movement. And I think that's the tough part about it. Again, first-time head coach, right? So, I mean, Kremens is going to have to prove that too. He's a first-time head coach as well.
Whoa. Let's not go
his pedigree, though, if you look at his pedigree and the staffs that he's been on the last 10 years, winner, every single one of them. So he's been to the NCAA multiple times. Couldn't say that for Coach Hayes. He's had productive offenses and defenses. I think that's the interesting thing to me is they've been built different ways, like strong teams that have defended and rebounded well and also shot the ball really, really well. And I think that's what's going to be fun to see, because some of these guys, at least, from their previous stops, have been very efficient scorers, and he's preached efficiency, which is, that again is a lot more attractive basketball.
Do you think that the Kremens name brings some more fans out to the box that first few games at least, something like that?
Yeah, I think initially it will help. I think scheduling is critical, especially to kind of get a runway here. Again, I don't love.
See, Ryan, Ben thinks scheduling is critical. Ben thinks scheduling is critical, Ryan.
For basketball, it is for sure. And for all sports, it is. Yeah,
just win, baby.
And the reason why I'm gonna follow up before you can finish your answer, I'll follow up my question with, because as soon as Kremens got named as head coach, I got reached out to by multiple Georgia Tech fans who were like, "Oh, see, you got the Kremens kid." Like they were interested, and I will reach out to every one of them as the season gets closer to try to come out to games and everything. But I'm just curious, whether or not that gets just a little bit more of attention on the box. And
absolutely,
Panthers.
I mean, it should. I mean, more attention than a program that has lost for 4 straight years should get. Right? I mean, you're gonna grab it. And listen, look, we can't dodge the idea either. Brian Blake's a Georgia Tech graduate. He was at Georgia Tech when Coach Kremens, his uncle, was doing what he was doing at Tech. So there is some nostalgia there. But again, I think from the pool and from what I heard on the interview process and folks that he impressed, his plan is one that he wants to go out and execute it. I'm interested to see how it looks. He took less money basically up front than what Jonas had on his exit out. So that's interesting to me when, Brady was able to get a hold of the contract there. So making significant less. So is that money in the pool to go out and get players? Potentially. Is that to go out and, pay assistant coaches as well that he wants to bring in that could be development guys? That could be a possibility as well. So there's, again, a lot of questions. I've been told that the roster is not completely set. I think there's 11 guys on campus right now, so there is room potentially to add in August, and still some guys that could come back and jump in the boat.
When are we? When I should know this because I'm weird about this, but when do we start getting? I think the conference schedule comes out actually not too far from now, and then we don't get the actual out of conference schedule closer to August or September.
Yeah,
like that,
so
right?
It used to be the case. I know specifically at Georgia State, always used to be kind of a headache for coaches. I mean, for decades, even since when Ron Hunter was here. So basically, once the schedule is completed, contracts are signed, it has to be blessed by the school. Like people miss classes and all this other stuff. Like, so that's when you start kind of targeting August. Like you'll start seeing some leaks here and there. You're already starting to see them, like John Rothstein will have some, or Mid-Major Madness will have some. They'll have some, some games or, tournaments. And that's something that I'm interested in as well. We saw some multi-team events that Georgia State used to go to, right? They'd go and play games, with 3 other teams in 4 days and go from there. We saw Ron Hunter want to do that. Jonas did it a couple times too. Where's Kremens sitting at? Does he say, hey, I want to host more games and against lesser competition and build the win total up and build some chemistry? Or do I want to go ahead and hit the road on November and December when the students aren't in? I mean, I think that's the hardest part about college basketball is like you don't have the students on campus for the vast majority of your basically first 2 months, right?
Yeah,
November and
yeah.
December, you wipe out a ton of them. And that's also the games that you got to go.
Hell, even
buy
early
games.
January, even early
Yeah.
January is the same way, right? Yeah. Yeah,
100%.
we talked to Tim and I talked to or Tim and I, Tim, Ryan and I, one of those, they look alike. I talked to Kremens at the
We did,
event
David.
at Wild Leap, and
Yeah.
that's specifically what I asked him about was like, my first role, like, and I went to some games when Lefty was there, but like my first like real attention to Georgia State college basketball was when Hunter got there, and he talked about how all the time how hard it was to schedule. I was like, well, that's because you're really good and your teams don't lose in the sports arena. And so I was just asking Kremens if he had experienced the same kind of thing, and he was kind of shifty on it. I think it was still probably a little early to have the conversation. He said we'd probably still have a couple of non-division one games in there, but he had a few good ones. I told him, I was like, I want a Ron Hunter led Tulane team in the box, and all he could give me was they had reached out to them. So
Yeah, I believe it. I mean, it makes all the sense in the world, and you also could retire RJ's number that day because he's on the coaching staff.
I know, right?
It makes all the sense in the world. Do I foresee that happening? No. Because
Nah.
look, Ron Hunter didn't overschedule when he was here either. He didn't do it at Tulane either. He wants easy wins at home, so that's why he goes and schedules Lafayette at home.
I also like easy wins at home. So yeah,
true.
All right.
That wouldn't be Tulane, by the way. Tulane's pretty good. Yeah, it's a pretty good American team.
They're really good in Memphis, and they struggle most other places. But yeah. So hey, Ben, we've taken you almost to a full hour, and I don't really have anything else to push on for the night. So I think we'll appreciate you being here, and look for. I want to obviously get you back on before football season starts. Get you back on before basketball season starts and everything. Always a pleasure to have you here when you can make it, when you can fit it into your tight schedule.
Yeah, but believe me, it's not mine. It's these teenagers in my house. They
grow
run
them
my
up,
schedule.
man. Get them jobs. Get them out of here.
Almost, man. I'm working on it. I got one, and then one start in high school, so it starts over again. I don't know.
That's my your kids are older than mine, and I can't wait for them to move out. So, all right, Tim, you want to take us out of here?
Sure. Thanks for listening. We're going to take a quick break here. Head over to last call. Ben, are you joining? I don't know.
You gotta run, boys.
You gotta run. All right. Well, if you like what you heard or you didn't, does not matter. Join us anyway at patreon.com/Dave Elena. You'll get live streaming access to Last Call, discounts on merch, Bevs at tailgates, David drinking Tallboy Miller Lights, and more. $5 is all it takes. Say goodbye, guys.
Goodbye, guys.
Peace.